How does a small burger stand in California become one of the most recognizable brands on earth? How does a 15-cent hamburger evolve into a global system generating more than $139 billion in annual sales? And what happens when the men who invent the machine are pushed aside by the man who knows how to scale it? Today, McDonald's operates more than 45,000 restaurants across more than 100 countries and territories. Its system-wide sales passed $139 billion in 2025, while the corporation itself reported approximately $26.9 billion in revenue. Brand valuation firms have placed the McDonald's name among the most valuable in the world. But behind the numbers is a story far more dramatic than burgers and fries. It is a story about invention, ambition, conflict, real estate, marketing, and the industrialization of eating. To find the beginning, we have to travel back to the 1930s, when brothers Richard and Maurice McDonald left New Hampshire for California. They were searching for opportunities they believed were out of reach back home. Their first dream was Hollywood. They opened a movie studio in Glendale, but the business failed. So they turned to food. In 1940, the brothers opened a drive-in restaurant in San Bernardino, California. At the time, drive-ins represented the future of American dining. Customers parked their cars, car hops rushed outside with trays, and huge menus promised everything from barbecue to sandwiches and desserts. The McDonald brothers made money, but the operation was chaotic. There were too many menu items. Food was wasted. Orders were often wrong. Car hops were slow and customers had to wait. Dick and Mac began asking a dangerous question. What if a restaurant stopped behaving like a restaurant and started behaving like a factory? In 1948, they shut down the business and rebuilt it from the ground up. They removed the car hops, reduced the menu, standardized every step, and redesigned the kitchen around speed. The new menu focused on hamburgers, cheeseburgers, fries, shakes, and soft drinks. A hamburger cost just 15 cents. Customers ordered at a counter, collected their food, and left. The system was called Speedee Service. Beef patties were prepared to identical specifications. Workers stood at assigned stations. One person cooked. Another assembled the burgers. Someone else handled the fries. The goal was not variety. It was consistency. A customer in San Bernardino should receive almost the same burger every time, in almost the same amount of time. The brothers had not simply created a faster restaurant. They had created a repeatable operating system, one that could theoretically be copied anywhere. But everything was about to change. The next person to recognize the true potential of McDonald's was not a chef, investor, or restaurant executive. He was a traveling salesman. Ray Kroc was born in Illinois in 1902. Over the years, he sold paper cups and restaurant equipment before becoming a salesman for multi-mixer machines, which could make several milkshakes at once. In 1954, Kroc received an unusually large order from the McDonald brothers, 8 mixers for their San Bernardino restaurant. Curious, he drove across the country to see why a small burger stand needed so much equipment. What he found stopped him cold. There was a constant line of customers. Food moved quickly. The menu was simple. The kitchen operated with almost mechanical precision. Kroc did not see a local restaurant. He saw a blueprint. The McDonald brothers had already sold a limited number of franchises, but their expansion was cautious. Kroc believed the concept could spread across the entire United States, provided the experience remained uniform. He persuaded Dick and Mac to let him become their... In 1955, Kroc opened a McDonald's restaurant in Des Plaines, Illinois, often regarded as the first location built under his expansion system. That same year, he created McDonald's System, Inc., the company that would eventually become McDonald's Corporation. The early years were difficult. Kroc faced financing problems, rising costs, and the challenge of finding franchisees willing to follow strict operating rules. He needed more than people who wanted to own a restaurant. He needed operators willing to reproduce the system exactly. No improvising, no oversized menus, no turning a McDonald's into a personal experiment. The strategy worked. Restaurants spread through the Midwest and then across the country. The golden arches began appearing along highways and in growing suburbs, becoming a visual signal of speed, familiarity, and convenience. At first, the arches were architectural features built into restaurant designs. Over time, they were simplified into the double-arched logo that became one of the most powerful symbols in commercial history. Yet behind the expansion was a growing conflict. The McDonald brothers valued control and consistency, but they were not obsessed with endless growth. Kroc was. He wanted new locations, stronger marketing, tighter systems, and a company capable of dominating the market. The brothers believed they had created the formula. Kroc believed the formula meant nothing unless someone was willing to impose it everywhere. Their partnership became increasingly tense. Kroc wanted changes the brothers resisted. The brothers wanted to protect the operation they had built. Both sides believed the other was misunderstanding the business. However, success came with a hidden cost. In 1961, Kroc bought the McDonald brothers out for a reported $2.7 million, roughly enough to provide each brother with $1 million before taxes. The deal ended their formal control, but it did not end the controversy. The brothers later claimed that Kroc had verbally promised them a percentage of future royalties. Because the arrangement was never included in the final written agreement, they received no continuing share of the corporation's enormous growth. The original San Bernardino restaurant was also excluded from the McDonald's chain and continued under the name Big M. According to the familiar account, Kroc later opened a McDonald's nearby, helping drive the rival restaurant out of business. Whether every detail is remembered perfectly or not, the symbolism is impossible to miss. The inventors had lost the empire built from their own system. Kroc now had control, and McDonald's entered a new phase. The company grew through franchising, but its most important asset was often not the kitchen. It was the land beneath the building. Through a real estate structure later associated with the Franchise Realty Corporation, McDonald's could acquire or control property, lease it to franchisees, and collect rent alongside franchise fees and royalties. That model transformed the economics of the business. Franchisees supplied much of the capital and handled daily operations. The corporation benefited from brand power, rent, royalties, purchasing scale, and the rising value of strategically located land. McDonald's was selling food, but it was also operating a vast network of contracts and locations. The burger was the visible product. The system was the real business. Then came the marketing machine. Television commercials turned McDonald's into a family ritual. In the 1960s, Ronald McDonald appeared as a cheerful, red-haired mascot designed to speak directly to children. In 1979, the Happy Meal combined food with a toy and transformed a restaurant visit into a collectible experience. It was not just lunch. It was a small event, carefully designed to bring families back. The menu became a laboratory of mass appeal. The Big Mac, introduced nationally in the late 1960s after being created by franchisee Jim Delegati, added a distinctive middle bun and signature sauce. The Egg McMuffin, introduced in 1971, helped turn breakfast into a major fast food occasion. Chicken McNuggets arrived nationally in 1983, giving McDonald's a powerful alternative to beef. The fries became almost as famous as the burgers. And the McFlurry, launched in Canada in the 1990s, turned soft-serve ice cream into another global platform for flavors and promotions. But McDonald's did not conquer the world by serving exactly the same food everywhere. It learned to adapt. In India, where many customers avoid beef, menus emphasize chicken, vegetarian products, and regional flavors. In Japan, customers have encountered items such as the teriyaki McBurger. In parts of the Middle East, restaurants operate under halal requirements. China, Latin America, Europe, and Asia each brought different tastes, regulations, and cultural expectations. The first major international expansion arrived in Canada in 1967, followed by Puerto Rico and other markets. Europe became crucial, with restaurants opening in countries including the United Kingdom, Germany, and France. McDonald's entered Japan in 1971 through a partnership that helped adapt the brand to local business culture. It arrived in China in 1990, opening in Shenzhen, and continued building a presence across the country. In the Middle East and Latin America, local partners helped navigate markets where food, religion, and consumer habits varied dramatically. Few people could have imagined how quickly those arches would become part of everyday life. McDonald's appeared in airports, shopping districts, roadside centers, and urban neighborhoods. The company sponsored major sporting events, partnered with celebrities, promoted limited-time products, and connected its brand with the Olympics, football, basketball, and other global spectacles. Its advertising sold more than food. It sold familiarity, childhood memories, convenience, and the comforting idea that you could enter a McDonald's almost anywhere and know exactly what to do. That consistency also created enemies. Burger King challenged McDonald's with the promise of customization. Wendy's emphasized fresh, never-frozen beef and a sharper advertising voice. KFC dominated fried chicken. Subway competed through sandwiches and perceived freshness. Chick-fil-A built a powerful chicken business around service, loyalty, and a distinct company culture. The competition became a permanent battle for value, attention, convenience, and habit. But the same system praised for efficiency was also criticized for encouraging unhealthy diets, excessive calorie consumption, low wages, environmental damage, and disposable packaging. McDonald's faced lawsuits and public campaigns over nutrition, labor, advertising to children, and its impact on communities. The documentary Supersize Me intensified public debate in the early 2000s, while changing consumer habits pushed the company towards salads, fruit, reformulated ingredients, coffee, breakfast, and clearer nutrition information. Then came a new disruption. Kroc did not invent the hamburger, the drive-in, or even the basic idea of franchising. His achievement was recognizing that McDonald's could become an operating machine, then forcing that machine to run across a continent and eventually across the planet. That is why the history of McDonald's is not simply the history of M2.